WWE seems to be going through a strange phase. With Vince McMahon getting older, it appears as if he is nearing an age where he is no longer able to guide the company. He's been going through a spree that has alarmed fans, hiring writers that don't know anything about the company, CEOs who don't understand anything about the business, and firing wrestlers who could have become top names. The last point has been obvious over the last 2 years, with WWE letting go of hundreds of stars in a short time. This is Wrestling Up, and here are wrestlers that could be released next from the company. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Upon his debut, Apollo Crews was seen as one of the most athletic stars. However, when it came to his charisma, he was lacking. As far as any fan could tell, his only gimmick was that he was going to smile at anyone, and that he would not be talking on the mic. So he was relegated to the role of a lower mid-card wrestler. However, under Paul Heyman in 2019, Crews had somewhat of a revival, with him going on to win the US title. It would not last, as Heyman was relieved from his position by Vince McMahon, but Crews still got somewhat of a push. While he lost the title, he was given a gimmick change as the Nigerian Prince, and he was assigned a bodyguard in Commander Aziz. Still, ever since he lost the Intercontinental title to Big E, Crews has been somewhat lost in the shuffle, and although he is finally challenging Damian Priest to a title feud for the US belt, he's not likely to win, with Priest never being pinned. With the right booking, WWE could have pushed Apollo to the moon. At this rate, he will be one of the next wrestlers to be let go. When Shelton Benjamin arrived, he was one of the most athletic and promising stars. After going off on his own on the main roster, his feud with Evolution in the early 2000s was one of the most entertaining. Benjamin had many memorable moments, including that super kick from Shawn Michaels in midair, but was never able to stand out thanks to WWE not giving him crucial wins. After leaving, he explored different promotions, but when it was announced he was coming back, it excited fans. When he arrived, he was shuffled between tag teams, with none of them going anywhere, before he was finally added to the Hurt Business. Just when it looked like he had something there, Benjamin and Cedric Alexander were kicked out of the group. They seem to have rejoined the faction, but WWE has seemingly forgot they reunited them. Recently, only Lashley and MVP have come out together. It seems he's back to being a team with Cedric. With WWE just throwing him around, it seems they don't have a plan for him. After an extremely successful first run on NXT when he arrived on the main roster, it appeared Finn Balor was destined for greatness. He defeated a star like Roman Reigns, who by then was clearly one of the favorites of WWE. He then defeated Rollins and became Universal Champion. Unfortunately, a separated shoulder during that bout would lead to him vacating the title. When he came back a year later, he was no longer treated like a star, with only his demon persona receiving any importance. He then went back to NXT and immediately became champion. When he was brought up and put in a title feud with Roman Reigns again, fans expected the best. Instead, after losing his title chance to Roman, he was drafted to Raw. At first, it looked like he would be making an impact as he was in a #1 contenders match. Since then, he has lost both matches he was a part of, and was then demolished by Rollins in a violent assault. The star has not been treated as such for a while now, which likely means that he will not be treated as one again on the main roster, and might even get released. For the moment, Robert Roode has found his place as a part of the dependable but forgettable Dirty Dogs tag team with Dolph Ziggler. Roode in his own capacity is certainly capable of wonders, but in truth, WWE's torn away at his character. Gone is the glorious entrance song and everything that made him stand out. Instead, he has been stuck in holding position, and it looks like he will never break through the glass ceiling. In such situations, WWE tends to want to freshen things up, and given how many faultless and entertaining stars like Braun Strowman were released, Roode's release might not be too far away. After his impressive NXT run, WWE changed Dominik Dijakovic's name to T-Bar and put him in a stable where nothing happens, Retribution. After weeks of threatening to end WWE, the stable signed with the company, something that is not only hilarious but also ridiculous. As if that was not enough, he was made to lose as a part of the stable. After looking like the leader, he was proven to be nothing more than an underling to Ali. After a while, when Ali was destroyed by T-Bar and Mace, and he had broken away from the group, together with Mace, they could have been a fun tag team. There was obvious chemistry between them, but WWE decided to keep their masks on, unmasking them only for him to wear different sorts of face paint. Now WWE has separated T-Bar and Mace, but instead of showcasing what T-Bar can do, he was destroyed by Damian Priest, and since then T-Bar has been out of action. Elias is another that has been abandoned by WWE. The star is one of the best when it comes to lighting up a crowd. Very few can get these reactions, with him being one of the most consistent fixtures in the company despite never really having a proper storyline. Though it looks like the lack of an involvement in a storyline has finally caught up with him. Where before he had the guitar and everything else, with him opening shows by singing and then getting interrupted, he now does not even have that. Following a feud where he was thrashed by Jackson Riker, Elias disappeared from TV. In a couple of vignettes, WWE declared that Elias was dead, with the superstar throwing his guitar into fire. That was back in August. Although the vignettes continued to air for some time, he has since disappeared from television completely, and it's not clear where he is. With WWE not even drafting him, it should be noted the only other stars who were not drafted, Lindsay Dorado and Gran Metalik, were released. Elias is very likely next. Ricochet is a star that has never reached the heights he is capable of in WWE. When he arrived on NXT in his feud with Velveteen Dream, he immediately got noticed by casual fans. He had charisma, reminded them of a death-defying wrestler like Jeff Hardy, and was capable of flying around as if he was forgotten by gravity. However, not being the best talker on the mic appears to have cost him in WWE. After an initial push on the main roster, Ricochet started to lose badly. While he had been thriving under the tutelage of Paul Heyman, he was not doing nearly as well under Bruce Pritchard. It seemed Vince McMahon ordered him buried, and he started to act like every other wrestler on the roster, and not someone who could one day challenge for the world title. It was clear he was being treated as an afterthought. Given he is in his prime, Ricochet does not have too long left in the ring with the style of wrestling he employs. With that, he might be the next one to leave WWE, as he has had enough of being treated this way. At one point, Charlotte Flair was everyone's darling backstage. That time has passed. Charlotte's going through a very hard time in her life. Where before she had friends in the form of the Four Horsewomen, she apparently is alone backstage. Ric Flair, her father, has been released from the company. Her fiance, if they are indeed still together with rumors of a breakup, Andrade has left WWE so that he can join AEW. And now, following a shoot incident where she threw a title to the ground, she has a lot of heat backstage with WWE officials. Charlotte had asked the title swap segment be changed because she justifiably felt the segment made no sense. After receiving no for an answer, she decided to make changes to it without telling anyone, and in the process hurt Lynch and Sasha Banks. Becky and she had a shouting match backstage. She is still champion, but apparently only her status as a Flair is keeping her within the company. WWE would not want to release her, but if she continues to be isolated and does not make up with others backstage to have support, she could indeed be one of the wrestlers that is released next as soon as she loses the championship. Dana Brooke became the 24/7 champion recently. At her current level, that's the best that she will do in WWE. Truthfully, from the first day Brooke stepped into the main roster, it was clear WWE had brought her up too early to play Charlotte's assistant. While she has dramatically increased her in-ring ability, she is a charisma vacuum. While being capable of a lot, she does not really have what it takes to become the next big star, unless she manages to change her character. Given WWE does not really allow stars to be creative, this would seem impossible. Brooke deserves better chances, and with the right booking, she could have been someone in the company, but at the rate she is going, she'll be let go soon. Alexa Bliss might be one of the most underrated talents on the women's roster. After initially making a deep impact on the SmackDown brand and winning the women's title over there a few times, and later the Raw women's belts, injuries slowed her down. She was no longer able to wrestle in that unforgiving way thanks to concussions. WWE sidelined her but kept her as a main part of the show. Bliss managed to make the best of whatever role she was given. She went from the most despised heel in WWE to a beloved face thanks to her team with Nikki Cross. However, after attracting the attention of The Fiend, she became a version of a Sister Abigail almost, and went on to get a supernatural gimmick. Eventually she turned on Wyatt, who was then fired. The supernatural gimmick had a small shelf life, and thus after fighting for some time, she was destroyed by Charlotte Flair and her haunted doll Lily was torn apart. She went off screen and hinted at returning to her original form, except she never did. Bliss fits the WWE mold better than almost anyone on their roster, but being injury prone is something the company does not look on well. With that being the case, and given the way that WWE thinks, they could release her next. And these were wrestlers that can be released from WWE next. Hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.